Well, good morning, everyone. I love seeing all the good mornings and from so far away. And I just see now Nolitha in Johannesburg. Good morning. And probably maybe evening there where you are. So it's very nice. And it's become a great, uh, surprising joy for me to be sharing this medium for practicing sitting and teaching and to see all these names and so thank you so much for being part of this and to now I'm looking forward to our time to sit together. So there is a wonderful aspect of mindfulness done the right way, and that is the simple ability to observe our experience as it's happening. To be able to stand in the middle of the stream of life, to enter the stream, and to be able to just stand in the stream and watch everything the stream just wash right by, wash right through. So much so that with time, everything, including the watcher, is just streaming and moving and flowing. But this ability to sit back and just observe and be with the experience. So here we are, and to begin this meditation, you can take an upright posture or some other posture that seems right for you at this time, that allows you to be present with some intentionality, some clarity. There's a way of taking a posture that in the best possible way, it's a determined posture, like, oh, this is where I'm going to be. This is where I'm going to practice. In a sense, the meditation posture becomes your meditation hall, becomes your monastery or retreat center. So to begin with taking a friendly, I like the word gentle, friendly gentleness to yourself. This little ritual of rocking back and forth, swaying a little bit. Maybe it's nice in terms of establishing a posture, but if you do it slowly and kindly, it's a beginning of this process of coming in to be present with yourself in a supportive, calm, caring way. And then to softly close your eyes and to take a few moments to once again, with whatever ways that you have, to align yourself or settle yourself to having a kind and friendly, calm attitude towards yourself sitting here. And even if you're feeling the opposite of kind and friendly and calm, perhaps there's a way of expanding your awareness so that there's some spaciousness or some open presence to even that. And then continuing, if this is helpful, with a calm, friendly attitude, to take a few deep breaths with that attitude, not in a hurry. And exhaling a little bit more fully than usual, but calmly and kindly. And letting your breath return to normal. And perhaps imagining, even though you're sitting upright, if you are, imagine that you're sitting in an easy, comfortable chair. Maybe looking out the window. And you're sitting, observing your body breathing. Initially observing, curious, but how many parts of your body move as you breathe. Even the back rib cage and even the spine can move slightly as you breathe. And then to settle back in a way that is not interfering with what you see. To observe your mind. Observe the energies, the activities of the mind, the thinking, any wanting or not wanting, expectations, or even feelings or moods that you happen to have. To kind of step back, settle back, and just observe it as if it's allowed to be that way. You don't have to interfere or judge or do anything. Just observe and recognize. And after this short period of observation, maybe now as you exhale, you can relax any tension you might feel in the mind, maybe associated with thinking. Maybe you could also soften, relax your body. And then settling into your body breathing. to observe the process of breathing in wherever in your body breathing is easiest to observe. And if anything occurs that becomes more compelling or pulls the attention away from breathing, kind of imagine you settle back more in your chair to observe that, as if it's just another thing that comes in front of the window, looking out. Just something else to observe. And if it's thinking, after you've observed it a little bit, then let go and begin again watching your breathing. Watching with a quietness of mind. If you are involved in thinking, see if you can step back and simply recognize, observe that the mind is thinking. Step back far enough so you're very clear that you're watching thinking, not being in the thinking. And see if that watching can be calm and kind. And when the time is right, begin again watching, observing your breathing. And then as we come to the end of this sitting, in whatever way feels right for you, see if you can establish or open up to a disposition of kindness, calm friendliness, certainly towards yourself and your experience, and then radiating from you an attitude of calm friendliness, kindness, that you spreads from you out into the world in all directions. And may your capacity for being peaceful, being friendly, being kind, may it be with you through the day in such a way that you are that way with the people you encounter, people you talk to, in the ways that you interact with the world. May the world become a better place today because of how you've lived in it. So good morning. And to continue the series of talks for this week on mindfulness as part of the 5 faculties. And so I've given now 5 talks on the first faculty of faith, 5 talks on the second faculty of effort, and now we're doing the 3rd faculty. And those of you listening to these series might have understood that these Monday through Friday talks for each faculty is offered somewhat progressively. That's somewhat goes along with the notion that Dharma practice is onward leading. There is a way that it evolves and moves and develops over time. And certainly it goes in spirals, come back to the same place again. Sometimes it goes back and forth, ups and down. It's not linear. But it overall, the pattern of practice is to move along a certain direction to greater and greater freedom. And for mindfulness then, Monday was the initial establishment of mindfulness, the effort it takes to begin the practice, to show up, to, if we're lost in thought, to wake up from that and be mindful and begin again. Once we're able to kind of begin and really kind of starting to be more present, then mindfulness has another quality that can come into play. And that is that not only are we present and aware of what's happening, but we also can begin recognizing what's happening. And recognizing allows a little bit more for us to be anchored in the present moment, a little more clarity about what's happening, and a little bit more begins to, has its own momentum to keep us in the present moment, keep us over time. As we're more rooted in the present and have more clarity of what's going on, then the practice can open up to a capacity to observe what's happening. Where we're not trying to make the effort so much anymore, but the effort more is to stay observing, stay present, let go of the things that interfere so we can stay and settle back and just observe whatever's happening. And this sequence is what kind of the sequence in which the Buddha teaches mindfulness as well. He talks about establishing mindfulness first, and then a lot of the exercises that the Buddha gave for developing mindfulness have to do with recognition, understanding what's happening. And once that's been established, then he talks about observing the body in the body, the feelings in the feelings, mind in mind, dharmas and dharmas. So this ability to observe. And observing has some characteristics. One is that when you look at something, the looking itself does not interfere with what's being seen. Certainly if you touch something, your hands might change it and pick it up and do things with it. But eyes, the seeing, in and of itself doesn't change anything that's being seen. It just sees. And so that way, the mind's ability to perceive, to see, to settling back and just allowing it to be there, and just know it or see it, or is a knowing that is without interference with what is known. And certainly we don't physically interfere with it, but also we don't interfere with the perception or the seeing with judgments and stories and commentary and attitudes of being for and against it. These are all like pulling curtains across the window, or a little bit obscuring, or making it a little bit more cloudy or not so clear what we're seeing, when we add all these things on top of just simply sitting back and watching. It's certainly not easy to just to watch without interference, and that's why it can be useful to have the watching be 360 degrees. And what that means is that everything can be included, including our interference, including the way we judge it, or we have the wants and not wants, and not to condemn any of that, but in a sense just keep opening up the awareness, the field of observing. Oh, this too I get to observe. This too I observe. And just hold it all, just one more thing to observe. And over time, this simple observation of experience is a radical act, because of how much human minds are involved with fixing and doing and commenting and planning and all kinds of things. It's a radical act to be simple. It begins to loosen and dissolve and unravel all these complex worlds we have of reactivity and judgments and ideas and stories through which we see ourselves and see our world. And so this settling back to observe. The analogy that I like for it is imagine that you're on a edge of a river, leaning up against a river tree, and you're just watching the river go by. And as the river goes by, all kinds of things are seen. There's driftwood that comes by, leaves that go by, and it's just very nice just to watch the current, the waves, the driftwood that goes by. It's very, very relaxing. And then there comes along a wonderful recreational riverboat with a band and dance show and theater and lots of partying going on. And the next thing you know, you are involved, you're on the boat. But it's taken a few weeks to realize that you're on the boat partying. And then you get off the boat and say, wow, that was a long trip. And you finally make your way back upriver to where that tree is, and you sit down, just watch the river. It's so nice just to watch the river. And it's calm, relaxing, peaceful, content. But then down the river comes a war boat fighting the great right war and shooting its guns in all directions, and it's the good cause, and so you jump on the war boat and you're fighting the war, and it takes you a few months to realize that you are been fighting a war. And so finally you get off, and it takes a long time to walk back up and find that tree again. And then you're sitting there under the tree, just watching the river go by, and it's peaceful and calm and nice. And then comes along this decrepit raft that's so poor, so ruined, and just barely can stay afloat. And you feel so much pity for this raft. And before you know it, you find yourself, you don't know how it happened, but you're on the raft. And you've been on the raft for years. On this poor raft, poor me, it's so hard. And then you're finally able to get off the raft, and then you go back up the river. This next time there, something comes along, a boat, very alluring, interesting, fascinating boat, and you just stay on the river, and you just watch it go by. And you don't get on. And another one comes by, and you just watch it go by. All kinds of boats go by, and you just watch it go by. And you realize after a while, I don't have to get on those boats. The boats are doing their things, they're going to their place, they come and they go, there's endless boats, and I can just stay here, observe and watch, and stay peaceful and just watch it go by. So this example is kind of how we watch ourselves in meditation. All kinds of thought boats come along, all kinds of stories and ideas. They're just coming down the river of time, the river of experience. And all too often we find ourselves on the boat, on the thoughts, entertaining ourselves, fighting the good fight, caught up in some self-pity or feeling sorry for ourselves, or the great, purpose in life, or the great fantasy, or whatever it might be. And it might not be wrong to be involved in get on boats, but sooner or later we realize that there are other options as well. And there's other possibilities of inner growth and development, and a real kind of discovery of freedom that's not possible if we keep getting on the thoughts, keep getting on the boats. So this idea of settling about just watch things go by, watch feelings go by, watch sensations in the body go by, thoughts, watch the breathing go by. And one of the great things about breathing is that it just has this wonderful rhythm and flow of waves on the, it's kind of like the waves on the river coming and going up and down, and just settling back and watching, observing. So to observe, to establish mindfulness, to have a clear recognition of what's happening in the moment, so that the mind begins to step back a little bit. It's not so entangled and caught in experience. This is an in-breath, this is an out-breath, this is a thought, this is anger, this is contentment, this is sounds coming. Whatever it might be, to clearly recognize it is to begin changing the flow of the mind and what the mind is involved in. It's beginning a movement of freedom to recognize rather than being caught up in. And as the recognition becomes clearer and clearer, there comes a time when it's possible to lean back or just settle in and just observe the experience in a peaceful and a calm way. And this creates the foundation for the next possibility that mindfulness practice is, how the mindfulness faculty is used and how this practice unfolds, which will be the topic for tomorrow. So you might, in this intermediate time, this between now and tomorrow, be curious about this human capacity to observe experience. And you might even go and use your eyes and sit someplace quiet and just watch the things go by. Watch nature, watch the squirrels playing the trees, or the cars go by, or whatever your situation is like. Just to watch the clouds go by and see what you can learn about what it's like just to observe and not interfere, not be reactive, not make stories about things. Just gently let things flow by, flow by. Stand in the middle of your river and let all things flow and just go by until such a time that it's just, everything is just observed and there's no observer. Even the observer is flowing by. So thank you very much for being part of this and sharing in this very wide community of people meditating together and sharing in the Dharma, appreciating the Dharma, and maybe spreading goodwill together into the world as we go through the next day. So thank you very, very much.